Hello, my name is Eugene Bryce from Bryce Energy Services. Today I'd like to give a short presentation on energy and carbon policy for your business, and this will be based on the ISO 50001 Energy Management System standard. So let's get on. Why have a business policy at all? So many of you will have a reception area or common area with lots of policy statements hanging on the wall, along with, I'm sure, many industry awards that you may have won. So what are all these policy statements? So they could range from health and safety, environmental, a recruitment policy, perhaps staff behavior policy, staff training policy, usually one or two A4 pages, and you may also have anything significantly applicable to your business. The idea is that your business, your senior management team, are making a statement as to how they wish to behave, how they wish further documents to be created against, and it is should be a public declaration as to the values of your business. So the hierarchy of business management documents from a policy. So typically a policy informs a business operational manual. So you have your high-level statement, as I say, single A4, possibly double A4 statement as to how you want your business to operate. And that then informs a policy statement and a manual describing for example, the training, the health and safety manual, the environmental manual of your business. From the manual, you have any number of procedures and work instructions that are informed and derived from that operational manual. And finally, to show that the procedures, work instructions are being followed, that would create records and documents. A simple one would be a risk and method statement, RAMS, from the health and safety manual. Procedure would require you to create them. Work instructions would be the details of how the work should be undertaken, and the RAMS signed off documents describe the correct implementation of that policy. So that's just a short bit of the hierarchy. So everything starts with the policy, sets the direction for the business, for a particular strategy. So what are the requirements of an energy policy? So just from ISO 50001, senior management shall establish an energy policy that is appropriate to the purpose of the organization, gives framework for targets, including commitment to provide resources, commitment to meet legal obligations, commitment to continual improvement, and procurement of energy efficient products. Now, that is the broad statement, and we'll go into each of the, we'll break it down. So ultimately, the energy policy, and particularly 50001, is about energy efficiency, and that is the Greek letter eta, but also quite often the symbol for efficiency is a cog and a clock or something. There's actually, I couldn't find a standard energy efficiency graphic, so if somebody knows one, please let me know. And if you are doing that, the policy should then also affect, and certainly 50001, your energy costs and carbon emissions. So making your energy more efficient or using your energy more efficiently should reduce energy costs and should potentially reduce your carbon emissions per widget. So energy efficiency is how much energy you use per widget or per whatever you manufacture, provide, supply, and that should obviously impact costs and your carbon footprint. So what needs to be included in a policy? And this is from, again, ISO 50001. So top management shall establish an energy policy that, and I'll say, this should form a single or double A4 policy statement, perhaps a little wordier than some of the other policies on the wall, ideally A4, but if you can be say it all in one A4, all the better. It is appropriate to the organization, provides framework for setting and reducing objectives and energy targets, has a commitment to ensure the availability of information and necessary resources to achieve the objectives and energy targets. So some very simple basic requirements there. The appropriate to the organization, that if your bakery is a small shop bakery as opposed to an oil refinery, the policy must be reflective of the scale of your organization, and within it that you have set objectives and energy targets and a commitment to ensure the information is dispersed to your wider interested parties / stakeholders. It continues, a commitment to satisfy applicable legal requirements, a commitment to continual improvement, supports the procurement of energy efficient products, supports design activities. So as with all ISO standards, it's a statement of fact that you should follow and satisfy legal requirements of that particular sector, whether it's environmental for ISO 14001, energy requirements or energy legal obligations, usually for reporting in terms of energy, commitment to continual improvement, so that the actual system itself is continually reviewed and improved and updated as the organization or business develops. Supports the procurement of energy efficient products, so that you're actually buying and putting your money where your policy is. So if you say you have a policy for energy improvement, you can't buy an inefficient product at the expense of another one. It needs to be weighted into your procurement decision how energy efficient a product is, and you need to demonstrate that you're doing that. Supports design activities, so this is the design of your process and building. So if you are having an extension to your factory, energy efficiency in terms of the fabric of the extension, the equipment that you put into the extension, all are considered in terms of how energy efficient they are, and for the also ideally for the lifetime of the building. So if you're doing a production line for 20 years, you want to consider the energy efficiency of that equipment over 20 years. Yeah, it's difficult, but this is the setting out your policy, your dedication to being energy efficient. So continuing, and again from ISO 50001, shall be available as documented information. So the energy policy itself, as we saw earlier, it's either displayed publicly. A lot of businesses would have it on their company website, so they would have their health and safety policy, environmental policy, energy management policy, more recent one, anti-slavery policies. They would all be available to the general public via the website. It should be communicated within the organization. So if you have a policy, you need to tell your staff. Available to interested parties. Interested parties, also known as stakeholders. So anybody who should or needs the policy, it should be made available to them. And finally, periodically reviewed and updated. So as the organization develops, the policy should be reviewed and updated. Typically, most businesses would do it on an annual basis, but certainly after a significant change within an organization, like a merger, a sale, a new production line starting, any appropriate policies should be updated at that stage. So what we're going to do is look at sections of our business limited carbon and energy management policy and see if where it satisfies those elements we described earlier. So if I just pull up the A to G list. So policy statement, our business is focused on environmentally friendly initiatives which benefit employees. Our Go Green team, so this business has a green team, a lot of businesses do, that are made up of various members of staff, ideally from a good cross section of departments and seniority. But I should say it's very important that the responsibility for implementing the energy policy is that people have sufficient seniority to actually do what's expected of them. So there does need to be a couple of, let's say, director or senior management level actually driving this policy on behalf of the board of directors, or however you describe the most senior level team in the business. So that's basically the, I'd say, the preamble, and I suppose we'll tick off A is appropriate to the purpose of the organization. So we're not quite sure our business does, but basically it's just a summary of that they intend to have an energy policy. So moving on, the intent of our policy. So these are a few targets. Carbon neutral scope by the end of 2040, aiming to achieve reduction 50% of scope 1, scope 2. So a slightly earlier target to give an impression of a curve. 5% year-on-year scope 3. So if you're not familiar with scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 for carbon emissions, I would certainly recommend investigating. So for our tick list, demonstrate for continuous improvement in the system. So of energy performance. So by committing to reducing their consumption and direct carbon savings, they are demonstrating that element of the requirement. So we continue. So aiming to achieve increased efficiency 5% year on year. Again, that's similar to continuous improvement of the system, so that could tick that box again. Appropriate information communicated to interested parties. Yeah, that's critical. So we can setting reviewing targets. Targets shall be reviewed on an annual basis. So we can tick off B and C from our list. Senior management team, progress energy performance targets are achieved and remain appropriate for the business. So that clearly ticks off those elements B and C. Continues. So it is quite a wordy document. This is why I say in order to comply with 50,001, it could potentially be a AA4 statement, policy statement. Yeah, it needs to contain as I say, these elements A to G in order to satisfy the requirements. Perhaps you can be a bit more efficient in your words as to how you spell out your policy, but as long as you can start matching paragraphs and that satisfy these criteria, then you're doing okay. So what do we have here? Maximize efficiency, minimize, comply with our legal and other requirements. So yes, you need to state that you're not going to break the law. Our purchasing policy to ensure energy ratings and whole lifetime costs are considered as a part of decision for purchasing new equipment. So supports design activities, so we can tick off that, and we can tick off that. Continuing, invest in energy saving measures, increase customer awareness of our policy. All future design and new build will conform to the objective, so we can tick off the last one. And just as a statement, all carbon dioxide equivalent emissions based on greenhouse gas reporting protocol scope 1, 2, 3. So as I said previously, understanding for carbon reduction, certainly the definitions of scope 1, 2 and 3, very useful for our business in order to compare apples and apples with other businesses in terms of their scope 1, 2 and 3. Very useful. So at that stage, we've now ticked off all of our requirements from an energy policy within our sample policy statement. So, is it appropriate for the organization? Yes. Provides a framework for setting and reviewing energy targets. Yes. Commitment to ensure availability of information. So we said we've communicate with everybody, distribute the information, commitment to satisfy applicable legal requirements. Yeah, we made effectively a statement that we would comply with applicable legal requirements. We just have to see a commitment to continual improvement of the energy system. Yes, we said we review it on an annual basis. Supports procurement of energy efficiency. So yes, we've said we design it in and we'd purchase based on energy efficiency for the whole lifetime. Supports design activities, energy performance. So yes, future design of the infrastructure of the business, consider energy and performance improvement. So you now have your energy policy. Now, unfortunately, the hard bit, implementation. So the policy is the top of the tree, that the primary document from which your manual, processes, procedures and documentation should follow. Yes, get in touch and we can help you develop your system, hopefully based on ISO 9001 if you have that already, and we would form an integrated management system. Perhaps you have 14001 or similar, but yes, implementation of the policy is the tricky bit. So that's the end of that presentation. Feel free to contact us. Email info@briceenergyservices.com. You can follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we also have a YouTube channel where you'll find this video and other training and information videos, so feel free to watch and comment. And also say thank you very much for watching this short video, and get in touch if you need any help. Thank you very much.